Hi guys, welcome to this episode of the Comedy Defect Podcast. My name is Winter Phonander. I'm a comedian and this is my show. Those of you who've never been to this show before, welcome, join us. Those of you that have, thank you. And those of you that haven't, look, you've got another 40 to listen to. They're on YouTube, they're on Podbean, they're on iTunes. If you like this show enough, go leave us a nice, honest review. It helps, it really does. Now this is a great episode for episode 41 with Alasdair Beckett-King. Alasdair is such a humble, easygoing, and just a really lovely guy. And he's a very funny comic too. He's just won the Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year 2017. He is also previewing his debut hour around the country. You can see the details for that on his website for Alasdair Beckett-King. Go find him on Facebook, go follow him on Twitter, and go and see him live for his preview, because he's previewing that for his debut hour, which he's going to be taking to the Edinburgh Fringe 2017. The name of that is called The Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries. Go check that out. You can follow us on Twitter. We're there at The Comedy Defect. You can follow me at Winter Phonander. I'm also previewing my show as well called Tolerance. Details for that will be on my website, which is winterphonander.com. What else has been going on with me? Got a preview tomorrow at the Foundry in Canterbury. I'll tell you about that next week. But guys, I've been busy. I've been getting loads of stuff done. I've been writing kids shows. I've been doing videos. I'm getting better at those. It's great. I'm also healed. My toe is better. My ribs are much, much better. I'm feeling good. I was a bit ill the last couple of days. But look, you got to do things right now. You don't know how you're going to be tomorrow. Look, just get it done. Get it done. Now, if you want to support this podcast, you can. You can go to Patreon, type in The Comedy Defect Podcast, and you can donate as little as £1 or whatever you feel this podcast is worth. And those of you that do donate, thank you, because you're paying for the people that can't. And those of you that can't donate, that's okay. Look, just join the Comedy Defect Facebook group, tell your friends about us, share your favourite episode, just tell your friends what episode you like the best. Look, it tells people where we are and what we're doing. And I thank you for listening, thank you for donating, and you're going to really enjoy this episode with the very funny, the very likeable, the so easygoing Mr. Alasdair Beckett-King. Alasdair Beckett-King, thank you for coming on the Comedy Defect. How are you, man?
I'm all right, thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's very nice to be here in your what would you call this, bunker?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a bunker. That's how I see it. As people call it a cabin. It's not. It's an escape. A bunker is correct.
Now that I've said it, though, the people who've had bunkers, they're not all the best people. I'm trying to not say Hitler. I'm trying to think of really nice guys who had bunkers.
Yeah, not many.
None are springing to mind.
No, that's true. There is a big drop off when it with the sort of the more sociable and kind people that own bunkers. It's a recently made bunker, so I don't think it carries any of that legacy with it. Which is good.
Absolutely.
And it's not as bomb proof as I'd like, to be honest.
Certainly, it just has. It feels like one of those flimsy Anderson shelter type things. So there you go. Yeah. We can preserve the Blitz mentality of the anti-Hitler side.
So I'm vulnerable at the same time. It's all about being vulnerable. So what have you been doing?
That's quite a broad question. Lots of things. Yeah. I've had quite a busy few months, but then I realised I was just thinking about busyness this morning, and everybody's sort of, things are so busy. But I realised I'm not actually that busy. I'm just really bad at organising things. And the reason I've got loads of stuff to do is that I'm just really bad at organising things, and I didn't do it. I should have just planned everything better, or not done things that I didn't have time to do, like an idiot. So busyness is sort of a badge of honour, I think, for people these days. I'm so busy, as if I'm in such demand from the universe. Just give me a moment, universe. And I don't think that's not the case at all. I'm thrusting myself upon the universe, saying, hey, pay attention to me. I have a degree of self-inflicted busyness, which is bad. I will also do I think this is quite normal, but I just whenever a new thing appears, I want to deal with the new thing. Mm-hmm. So whenever an email comes in, I want to answer that email, even if I'm in the middle of something else. And I think a sensible person would say, "No, I've got that schedule." It would be nice to even when it's things you don't like. I've got to do my accounts. Just say, "Well, I've got a double period of doing the accounts, and I just have to do it and just get through it." Yeah, we need a timetable system.
A timetable for the timetable as well. You need like a separate one, because some of those things on the list, we're going to take an awful long time. That's going to be a day. You just put that on that day rather than going, oh, this is all tomorrow. You know, do you know what I mean? That get crushed under the weight of the list then, don't you? And you go, look, I can't possibly do it. I'm just going to go make a cup of tea and I'll come back to this.
You almost need two lists. There's one list which is your actual practical to-do of what you're going to do that day, and the other list is just things you feel guilty about not doing, which are probably never going to get done. So that's all writing the novel and just generally becoming a better person and all those kind of things. Those are just on the guilt list.
Yeah. You just have that under the day for self-loathing. That's the day.
Yes. And what you'll do is you'll get on and work on those at sort of 2 a.m. in the morning or 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. And that's when you deal with those.
Yeah. So you won the Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year this year, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that was last month. So that was very nice. And I enjoyed it because I won. That's not the reason. That isn't what I was going to say. Yeah. But I realised that it was partly true. But no, I think the reason I enjoyed it was it's been a while since I'd done a competition, because I started doing comedy competitions basically as soon as I started doing comedy. And I did reasonably well in several of them. But I was super new and I only had 5 minutes of material. So by the time I got to the final, that was all my jokes that people were hearing at the end of the final. And it was very nervous, and the unpleasant thing about comedy competitions is the way it makes you want other people to not be funny, which you would never do that at a normal gig. You would never think, oh, I hope this next act bombs. But in a comedy competition, wouldn't it be convenient if they did? And that's a horrible feeling. And it's the same with gong shows, I think. And I don't think I think it's really unhealthy. I think it's bad for comedy, and I think it's sort of bad for not humanity, that's a bit of an overstatement, but it's bad for your humanity to have that sense of competition with your friends and peers and people you admire. And so I feel like I had perhaps the maturity, perhaps I've got better as a person or just older. So I was able to try and just think, okay, well, it's a gig and these are people I like, so I get to watch them and enjoy their sense. And I get to do my best during my set. And that's like you would at a normal... Like you would... This is about trying to entertain the audience and make sure they have a nice time.
Were the sets 5 minutes as well?
It was 7 minutes, so I had to write 2 extra jokes.
Oh, man.
No. The thing that I did, because I thought, well, the only way to justify doing this is to not do the same 5-minute set that I would have done 2 years earlier or 2.5 years before. And so I just made, so I didn't do jokes, which I would, many of those things I would still do if I were doing a 20. But I thought, well, I've got to do a different 7-minute set. So that way, whatever happens in the competition, I'll be glad. But at least I showed them some different jokes. At least I showed the tiniest bit of progression.
Did you slow down?
Just a lot slower. A lot of funny voices and eyebrow movements.
Lunges in
there. Big lunging.
Developed as a comic. And my mic technique as well, yeah.
I was throwing it from hand to hand. I was swinging it on the cable. I didn't realise for ages just how much you respond to people being confident on stage. Because when you start gigging, you see people and you're like, that guy's brilliant, or she's amazing. And then you realise they're not amazing, they just don't look afraid. And we all look afraid. And in competitions, well, you learn that, I guess, through doing comedy, but I don't know if audiences ever do learn that. So audiences are, I think, sometimes, I don't want to say taken in, but I've certainly seen audiences get really uncomfortable when someone who's very talented but not confident does something brilliant, but without the confidence to convince them it's funny, and they just go, oh, I don't know about that, which is really frustrating. But equally, when someone comes in there and bash, gives them some sort of lukewarm rubbish.
I thought out premise. You go, okay.
So what I thought was, I can be that guy, the bash, confident, no jokes. That is not exactly my strategy, but it makes you realise how much the presentation matters. Because I don't know where you come from in performance terms, but I'm not an actor or anything like that.
You start from a real disadvantage. You see a lot of actors go from acting into comedy because they've got the presence, they've got the sort of confidence and all that improv experience maybe they've got behind them. Yeah,
I completely agree. I must say I was a writer either, because I wasn't very good. Wasn't very good at that either. But I was, so I don't know what I'm doing. But I definitely wasn't an actor. I'm definitely not an actor. Or my range is, if I am, incredibly limited to people who are quite like me.
Yeah. The Leicester I keep on getting Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year.
I came joint third in the Leicester Square competition many years ago.
Yeah.
So it's not that one.
But who was the other people that came first and second?
In that one, it was Tim Renko and Garrett Millerick.
Right.
And then, normally the year after a competition, the person who won it comes back.
Oh, yeah.
But Tim had been briefly deported back to the States or Mexico or wherever he's from,
right, to
get a visa. And Garrett Millerick, I think he was, I may be slandering him, but I think he was doing Butlins.
Right.
So I got to do the returning, in inverted commas, winner's spot as the person who came third, which is that was actually to date one of my nicest gigs, because what a disappointment. I didn't even win it. And here I am doing the winner's spot. And it was really nice because there was weirdly no pressure. That one's a very nicely run competition, like as is the Leicester Mercury. There is a general sense, I think, of bonhomie, collaborative fun around both those competitions, which is good because, as I said, the cutthroat competitive thing is very counterproductive. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of new people get sort of either say, I'm not doing any more competitions, or I'm not doing any more comedy after a bad experience in a competition. And that's a shame, because they're psychologically so unlike other gigs. For the acts, they shouldn't. As I was saying, they shouldn't be. They should be just like another gig, but they're not.
Yeah, because you're just trying to be the best you can be, aren't you? Really, you can't be as good as any. You can't be good as that person. They're as good as they are. You can only be as good as you are.
But also, I mean, obviously, competing comedically is a ridiculous idea. We're trying to be competitively funny.
Yeah,
is crazy. It's because not everyone is running in the same direction, so it's not a race. You can't gauge who is doing better than who. You know, so it's kind of meaningless, and that's why the competitive element it makes sense. It's maybe helpful in career terms or in terms of profile, but it is kind of meaningless. It's so random as well, and it makes you realise how much in life and in people's careers is very random. You know, that nobody who's a successful comedian isn't funny, I would say, and you don't get to be that without being funny and working hard. But there are plenty of funny people who worked hard who aren't incredibly successful or aren't household names, because there is an element of chance. Yeah, it's chance and opportunities and I guess privilege comes into that. And
what was your first competition you did? You said you did 2 at the start. What were they?
I did more than 2. The first competition I entered was the Cavendish Arms competition.
Oh yeah.
Have you done
the Virgins?
You know, the
Comedy Virgins.
Comedy Virgins, as it is called. Yes, so the first competition I entered was the Cavendish Arms Max Enterprise. I came second. I'm still angry.
He's still angry about it. He still can't get over it. Who was first?
Ian Lane came first.
Oh, did he? Right, yeah.
And I think Ben Clover came third.
Oh, yeah.
It might have been Tom Ward. No, I don't think it was Tom, because Tom won their summer competition then after that, I think. And then me, Ian, Ben and Tom did an Edinburgh show together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was nice. That was the first time we did Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah, that was in 2014 or 15 or 13?
I don't remember. I'd rather not.
It's all a blur.
Let's not be too specific about how long I've been squandering my time and money in this fruitless endeavour.
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. And that show was called The Men Who Stare at Jokes, which was Ian's name.
I saw that. I came to see you guys.
Did you?
I did. I came to see you guys in Edinburgh. You were in the Banshee.
We were in the chamber room or something.
Banshee Labyrinth.
They're all like torture chambers in the Banshee Labyrinth. Yeah. That was really nice. I think our experience of it, we were very lucky, because most people's first year in Edinburgh is being stuck in a disused post office in Leith and no one comes. Yeah. Whereas we were just off the Royal Mile and we had a full room almost every night.
Brilliant.
And we didn't have to. Well, also we had the flowering abilities of Tom Ward, who is just such the most beautiful and charming human being in existence. And so I feel like a good 30% of the audience, 50, it was just his face, just drawing people in, and his flowering skills. Yeah. I'm pretty certain nobody I flyed has ever come to anything I've ever done ever. But yeah, so we had a really nice. Well, I mean, obviously we also had loads of arguments and got really stressed because we were all living together. And stuff. But that's the fun of it. But I think we're all still on. I think we're all back on good terms now.
That's good.
I think it's recovered from that experience. But for me, that was a very good experience. But also kind of an inaccurate view of what Edinburgh is going to be like really easy and fun every year, which is not always the case.
You're taking a show up there this year?
This year I'm going to do my debut hour.
Oh.
Which is... Because it's about time I did that, I think. Well, it's not, because I know some people who waited 8 years, gigged all over the world, became sort of circuit pros and then put together an hour's stuff. And I know other people who did an hour within their first 6 months. And I'm not sure that latter group are particularly thrilled about that decision. But
yeah.
The reason I decided to do it is not because I think I have got 60 minutes of gold that is burning a hole in my pocket. I had better drop this on the people of the Scottish Arts Festival.
Get ready, Edinburgh. I'm coming.
Yeah.
Got you in my sights.
Put on a second pair of socks because I'm going to knock the first lot off.
Get in a bunker.
And then maybe also the second into my bunker.
I'm coming.
Yeah. It's not that at all. It's simply that if I don't do it, I won't learn how to do it.
Yeah.
And it took me so long to realise that you don't get better at doing things by waiting to try and do them.
Yeah.
So I spent years not asking for 20-minute spots because I thought, well, I don't have 20 minutes. But if I had realised how long it took to get 20-minute spots, I would have started asking and then had 20 minutes by the time... So I waited until I had 20 minutes, then started asking, and then it took ages before anyone let me stand on stage for 20 minutes. And also, I didn't really learn how to do a 20-minute spot in a club. Well, I wouldn't say I have learned how to do that, because there are still things that happen, that have never happened before. There are people who've been doing club sets for 15 years, and they have experience of so many scenarios that I don't have. And so there are things that throw me that wouldn't throw them. But you don't learn how to do it by just doing tens and planning. You learn how to do it by doing a 20 in a club and seeing what happens, which is frightening. But applying the same thing to doing a show, I'm not going to learn to do it by just trying to write new material and do it in short sets. I have to try and learn how to do a show, and I've realised there's sort of three things to learn. You have to learn. Well, you have to try and write an hour's worth of material. And obviously I've been building material up for a while now, so I've got some material. It's not just a long set, it has to be a show, so you have to learn how to make a show. And that's a totally different thing. Doing a 20 is kind of humble, you just go, oh hey, here's my bit, hope you enjoyed it, bye. But doing a show is, this is my show, I've persuaded you all three of you to watch this, so there's got to be a reason. And also you just have to be interesting for that length of time, and you have to not dry up imaginatively or literally your mouth. You have to be able to just talk for that long. Admittedly, I have been talking for a long time here, but not interestingly. A demonstration there of how challenging it is. So you've got to be...
It's okay, this is my show. This is not your show.
That's fine. We'll just chop this down until it's just sort of nuggets of wisdom. Or just your bits. Yeah, that'll be ideal.
just a springboard for me to talk. That's all it is. Well, what is it called?
It's called the Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries, because who needs a title? Just put your own name in it again. Although I like that title because it makes it sound like I'm a detective, which I'm not, and there is no detective subplot in the show currently. Although because the way the brochure requires you to list it, it is listed as Alasdair Beckett-King : the Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries, which is so cumbersome that I find it really amusing.
Yeah.
The only thing I regret is not calling it Alasdair Beckett-King : the Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries, featuring Alasdair Beckett-King, or something like that, to try and get my name in 3 times, but I'd already reached the word limit. But we had to persuade the Fringe people that Beckett-King is one word, otherwise we would have gone over the word limit, which it totally isn't. It's clearly 2 words, but it's hyphenated, so...
Great.
So that's been my first and only achievement of the Fringe this year, is getting my bio under 40 words, or my blurb.
That's your opening bit done. That's your opening bit nailed down. Hey guys, look, I don't like to brag, but I have actually managed to squeeze in a word under the wire. Yeah, nice.
Well, the Beckett-King's in there twice, so I would have been 2 words over.
Yeah, but I like you talked about us. Did you, when you were saying us, it was like just...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
You refer to yourself as we and I.
The collective.
That's great.
Collective. I am Legion, for we are many.
Yeah.
No, that was me and the PR chap who was working on the blurb.
You're me.
Because it had never occurred to me that people didn't write their own blurbs. You know, people say... Because there's that phrase, hotly anticipated. Almost all my friends are doing hotly anticipated debut hours. And I thought, how could you call your own show hotly... And then I realised, I didn't. The PR person said that. Because I never understood how you could have the the lack of embarrassment to describe yourself as being hotly anticipated.
Yeah.
My show is not hotly anticipated.
No, but you did win the Leicester Mercury.
It is award-winning.
Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year.
Yes.
Technically, there must be some heat in that for you to win that accolade.
I think it's more humidity.
Mercury can measure either way, can't it?
I'm moistly anticipated in the barometer of anticipation.
Moistly isn't bad. Is still expecting. It's expected in some way.
I don't know. They always say a dry heat is better, don't they? It's the humid heat which really gets you.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'll remember you then. I mean, everyone likes to go to Florida, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's maybe like
like
the Bayou or an Everglade. That's what my show will be like. So I'm doing all kinds of things that I have never done before to try and do a show.
Yeah,
which is fun. I want to use the word fun.
Yeah,
it's not
definitely
fun, but it is interesting to sort of see how it works. And the whole system is insane. The free fringe is insane. The pay fringe is insane. Everything in between is completely insane, but in different ways. So it's interesting to explore a new avenue of financially insecure madness.
Yeah, terror.
Yeah,
financial terror.
I don't know if it's. I've always used the word insane and crazy, and I'm wondering if it's. Because I was reading an article about how you shouldn't say that because it might be offensive to people with mental health problems because of all the stigma associated with that. But I think we really do need a word for
nuts,
for crazy and insane.
Yeah.
Even the word spastic, I think Americans will use that word because its meaning is just its original meaning is just clumsy, I think, or uncoordinated.
I miss that word so much.
You missed the word spastic.
No, because it made me laugh so much. Just when I was a kid, not now, but it's like it reminds me of the days when your friends would take the piss out of you and call you one, and it wasn't anything on the other person. It was just because they all would refer to you as being that.
What I like is the way you were expressing enjoyment of the word spastic, but you've carefully made sure you haven't said it, and I have. So somehow I'm in trouble, even though you're in favour of the word.
No, but because they referred to me as that, that's fine. It's your intention, or
Yeah, but because I think we get hung up on what the origins of the word are. So the origin of the word spastic has no association with cerebral palsy, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Because in Britain, at least, it's a slur.
Yeah.
And so that's because you get the same thing where people say, no, I was about to say a series of more offensive words. I just remembered them being recorded.
Ding, ding.
So
we've got that covered. That's what I want to talk about. And so
people will ask.
A little disclaimer for me: these are not my. I do not.
These do not respect.
I do not encourage or agree with anything that Alasdair Beckett-King does say. So you have an agent, right?
Yes.
And who are you with?
I'm with Jacob Howe Douglas, so HD Management. Interestingly, we've only really started to properly work together as I'm approaching Edinburgh. He represents me for the entirely fictitious areas of film and radio and things that I don't do. But he's not a booker, so I book my own gigs. So he doesn't say, Alasdair, you're going to Tring to do a 10-minute spot in a post office. Second reference to post office.
Has this happened a lot at post offices you've gigged in?
I don't think I've actually gigged in a post office, but I've certainly gigged in many places with all of the ambience and perhaps the average age of the audience of a post office.
Right.
So I'm responsible for sending myself around the country doing miserable gigs, not him. But he's working with me, trying to develop a show and trying to take it to Edinburgh.
And you go with PBH? It's
a really difficult choice. I'm a big fan of the free fringe. And so the reason I'm leaning towards doing the pay fringe is not because I think it is better. There's certainly a temptation to say I'm going to do a paid venue because that makes me a real comedian. When what you really got in paid venues is an awful lot of people whose real jobs are working as temps, throwing away a lot of money in order to create a sense that they are real comedians, which is sad. And I will probably fall into that category. But there are different types of things you can do in a pay venue because of the structure that they provide compared to a free fringe venue. And I think some suit some types of acts and some suit other types of acts. And I've got great shows in free venues, but because there is a sort of a festive, freewheeling, we're all in this together kind of spirit in the good free fringe venues, I think that's great. Yeah, that really suits a certain type of show. But because I think I would like to try and do something a little bit more controlled and not theatrical exactly, but controlled. Because I would like to do something with tech, I would like to do things with, because I do animation and projection, I would like to do that sort of thing. Having done those things in free fringe venues, it's very challenging to sort of run in there during your 10 minutes on your own, set up a projector, quickly put up a screen, hope that the room doesn't overheat and the projector doesn't switch off in the middle of the show. Obviously, all of those things can still happen in pay venues and do happen in pay venues, but it puts the audience in a different frame of mind, I think.
You can shout at someone as well. And go, why isn't this working?
It's mainly just I want it to be someone else's fault if something explodes.
That's fair.
That is a huge part of it.
I mean, it's like,
it's still going to happen.
Sometimes you roll up to a venue and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to fix the backdrop and I'm going to fix the microphone. Oh, and the mics come to pieces. What is this wire? Why is this wire bare? Oh, it's still live. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's an interesting, exciting, environment around the Free Fringe sometimes. But
it's like indoor camping. And of course, there are great shows on the Free Fringe. I do think that if you wanted to have that element of control, you need to have a very clear strategy for getting people in and out, and you need to have a marketing head as well. Yeah. Because when you can't control who comes in and out, how do you make sure that not only do you fill the room, but you fill the room with the right people? Yeah. I've seen people do great shows, but where the Free Fringe, packed rooms, but where the first 10 minutes of the show is just trying to get everyone to face the front in a way, mentally face the front. That is a skill in itself, but it's kind of necessary in a way that I remember seeing Will Adamsdale's show a few years ago in one of the Udderbelly venues, and his show started. I don't even know if there's any music playing before he came out, but if there was, it simply cut, and he walked out with no announcement and sat down in a chair and began talking off mic. I think there's a room mic slightly amplifying him, but effectively not holding a microphone, not doing the bang. Let's kick this gig away. No, he did nothing. He came in and he sat down. And in that venue, admittedly, obviously, he's got some 5-star reviews under his belt and a track record that means that people are there to listen. Yeah. But we all lean in, going, "Oh, what an interesting avant-garde way of beginning a comedy show." Yeah. If you were to do that in a Free Fringe venue, nobody would even notice you were there because they'd still be talking. They wouldn't be waiting for the show. Yeah. They'd be thinking, oh, comedy, well, let's see what this is going to be like. And it just made me realise you can do different things because the venues, they just are part of the show, and it's just part of what kind of a start, what kind of a show it's going to be. Equally, though, when it's a show where nobody knows who you're going to be, in a Free Fringe, in a pay venue rather, there can be the audiences can be much more reserved because we paid £7.50 or something to see someone we don't know who they are. What's this going to be like? Last year I did the Pleasance Reserve at 7:00, and really nice people, really nice show to be involved with. But you do get, you get audiences who couldn't get in to see who's on at that time. James Acaster, obviously they couldn't get in to see him because it was all sold out years in advance. Or but the kind of people who didn't know that it was going to be sold out and therefore didn't buy a ticket months in advance, and so just thought, well, we'll just go and see general comedy, please. Could we just have some general, non-specific, generalised comedy? So we would get a huge range of ages, from sort of, like, literally, I think, 7-year-olds to retirees in some gigs, and which is fine for me because my stuff is quite clean and I think broad. Is it? I don't know. But it's certainly clean, so I'm not going out there talking about saucy sex stuff, as I believe the acts call it. And so it's not so much of a problem for me when there are kids or old people in. But yeah, you do get a sort of an uptight. Especially, I remember speaking to two comics, both South Londoners, both working class accents, saying, people, we're getting such middle class people in, they're so uptight and they don't know how to laugh. And I was thinking, these are my people. These are my people who they don't know how to express any emotions. They're so
my crowd, guys.
Yeah, exactly. That's we relate to each other. These people.
I'll be back next year.
The worst people. The worst people in the world. But it's not. I think it's not just. I don't think it is just a middle class thing. I think it's a Scottish thing and a Northern thing to fold your arms and not laugh.
Dour.
Yeah. Dour, as we pronounce it in Scotland. Good, yes. So I think, because I don't think I'm that middle class, but I definitely have that Northern / Scottish dourness. Yeah. I do laugh.
So you're Scottish then? You are.
Well, not really. My mum is.
Okay, where's she from? What part of Scotland?
She's from Appin, which is Oban is the nearest. I was going to say big town, but it's not that big a town. Yeah. Oban's most recent claim to fame was a few years ago. They let off all their fireworks in one go. So they were one of the towns that did that. So you probably saw them on a viral video.
Right.
And Appin is the area where Robert Louis Stevenson's Kidnapped is set. So it was quite important in that period of Scottish history, full of rebellions and assassinations and that sort of thing. Mm. But it's calmed down a lot.
Yeah, that's it. It's kind of like went mainstream.
Yeah.
They've moved those jobs further east into more further east in Europe.
Yeah, they've exported a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
But Appin's very nice. It's very. I mean, it's you wouldn't even think of it. It's not even really a village. It's an area, but which has farms in it. And this was Port Appin, which is again barely even a very, very small. It's a very picturesque and isolated part of Scotland.
Yeah,
part of the Highlands. My parents are about to move there again, so they're planning to retire there. They are retired, but they're planning to move up there, which is nice. I think I'm glad they're doing that because there's family there, and there's a sense of community.
And all your rest of your family still lives there, right? Or
on my mum's side, there's a lot of family there. Yes,
okay.
So there's young people and young families there and in the vicinity. Whereas me and my sister I live in London and she lives in upstate New York. So my parents might as well go back to the Highlands and hang around with the sheep because we're not helping. We're not looking after them. We're doing nothing. You're on your own.
But it's nice to kind of catch up there. Like, I mean, it's not. I mean, so in Ireland, we'll go back to Ireland and stuff. It's kind of nice to just.
Yeah, what part of Ireland?
Skibbereen, West Cork, down south. Yeah, down south.
Yeah, right.
And it's just nice to kind of like you go down there and it's like just at night, like lights go out. There's no lights at all. It's just kind of nice, just that kind of. That insular sort of like it feels like you're in a kind of bubble of silence.
Yes, it's exactly like that, but with sheep. With the occasional
oh yeah,
is what it's
cows
like in Appin.
Yeah.
You got cows in. Are they quieter maybe?
At night they're pretty quiet. Yeah, they're pretty quiet at night. But yeah, not big talkers.
The sheep just kick off at night.
Do they?
Start having conversations.
Yeah, mad. Occasionally the foxes and the rabbits, because the rabbits start screaming occasionally, don't they? So
I've never heard that. I've heard about it, but I've never actually heard a rabbit scream.
Bit kind of weird. Been to New York to do gigs and stuff?
No, I really want to. We've never been to visit. She's been there a couple of years, and she married. Well, I was going to say an American. He's not exactly American, but he's American enough that Trump can't get rid of him. Right. So she married an American citizen. She didn't think, well, I better go there after he got in. She moved there and then he got in. And of course, she was living in New York at the time, so everyone there is confused and devastated. The cities are out of touch with the small and the rural areas. Really keen to go. Not so keen post-Trump. My girlfriend hates flying, and I like the environment, so I think, well, I try not to fly if I can. I've flown very few times. But my dad also doesn't fly, and he's planning to go. He hasn't been yet. He went to the States when he was probably 19 on a boat, and so he's planning to do that again because you can buy passage on basically cargo ships. But it's stupid because you don't pay for the journey. You pay. Basically you rent the room. So however long it takes to go there, you just pay per day. So if it takes longer than they said, it costs you more. Yeah. It's the only journey where if there's a delay, you pay more. Yeah. So he's planning to
Southern Rail would
it's like
make a killing.
Southern Rail are looking at it enviously and rubbing their hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think he's going to spend about a week at some point going there in like a trawler, like Nosferatu, in a box of earth.
Great. Like the strain.
Yeah.
How much is it going to cost him?
A lot. It's certainly more expensive than flying. It's loads more expensive than flying. I think it costs about $1,000. And I'm sure you can find flights that cost $1,000, but you can also find flights that are cheaper if they're off-peak. So it's going to cost him about $1,000, which is why he hasn't done it, because he's like me and he's very sensible with money.
I thought you said they charge you by weight. Amazing!
So he's trying to lose a bit of weight. He's in very good shape. I don't think he needs to lose any weight. Right. Yeah, so I'm very keen to go, and I would very much like to do the New York open mics and to talk. I know, obviously, I have friends who, whenever they visit New York, will always do that. Have you done that?
No, I haven't. I haven't been over there yet to do gigs.
I mean, it sounds dreadful.
Yeah,
but so
absolutely.
does the London scene sound dreadful, but it's actually quite nice.
Being a comic is the worst thing for the environment, really, isn't it? You're doing all this travel, you're eating all this terrible. Well, you're vegan, right?
I'm a vegan.
You've done that. You've nailed that down. Okay, that as well. This is your family vegan as well.
No, my mum is vegetarian.
Right.
My dad eats meat. Okay. And my sister is vegetarian, but we were not brought up vegetarian. I think my sister's also giving up dairy now.
Okay, so she's following.
So she's moving in the direction of towards veganism.
Are you older brother?
I'm the older brother,
right?
Yeah. So she's 2 years younger, but was better than me at everything. So it was one of those. Because usually you're supposed to be the best at. So she was always better at maths and faster at reading and faster at running and better at sports and better at video games. So she beat me. She's always beaten me in everything.
And you're like, oh yes, you can eat that piece of meat. Why? I'm not going to eat that. Oh, you got butter? No, that's right.
Yeah, so she's once she's vegan, she'll be better at being vegan. She'll be a raw vegan who only eats rainbows, and I'll be looking like an idiot.
Wicker unicorns. Wow, okay, so you draw the line at the table and go, look, you shall pass. Okay, sister, you're trying to pass me, that's fine. So your mum is a vegetarian as well, and like what's your mum and dad do? Were they into performance as well, or? No,
not at all. They're frustratingly not involved in the media, otherwise otherwise that would have...
Nepotism's out.
Yeah, I always wondered why people would raise kids in London, or in the area of London, because as someone from the north east, the idea of living in London is anathema to me spiritually, although it turns out it's actually great and I really like it.
Yeah.
But I realised the reason is you might want them to get a job in the media, and then they need somewhere to live for free if they want to do that. Otherwise it's really hard. And so coming here without anywhere to live for cheap, it's been, it's much harder. Luckily, I'm middle class, so people notice that and doors open.
The wing.
Exactly.
Oh, you're middle class. Here, have some food.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he should be working as a runner.
Have there's a cereal cocktail I got from this this pop-up venue just around the corner.
Yeah. So my dad's a retired teacher.
Right.
And my mum worked in various areas which are similar to, but not actually social work.
Okay.
So she's worked in local government, doing things like supporting young families and single mothers and things like that. But she's done a variety of things in that area. Help young mothers from disadvantaged backgrounds with advice and support, and it's those sort of things. So she worked for the Sure Start programme while that existed. I think it's been shut down by the bloody Tories. But so she did that for a long while.
And your sister is what?
My sister will probably be a very famous writer or something and make me look bad. But at the moment,
really competitive. She's really just trying to ruin you.
But at the moment, she's a translator from French to English because she speaks French. I don't speak French. She speaks French.
So you start leaving really thick tomes around the place, the Idiot's Guide to Quantum Physics, and then she'd be oh really, Alasdair? Yeah, okay, and I'll see your quantum physics.
It could work.
Or Arabic, just sitting there. Oh, okay, I'm just checking some Arabic.
This
little thing. Oh yeah, there you go. Off you go.
Yeah, it was. I'm just trying to teach myself the cuneiform script alphabet. Yeah, I'm
learning it backwards. That's it.
Just a personal challenge.
I'm learning it through Sumerian.
And then off for a jog.
During.
Yeah, during a jog. I'm just jogging and learning Sumerian. What are you doing?
Just doing the weights.
Just holding tablets on either arm. Is that what you're imagining?
Yeah. And when was your first gig, man?
My first gig was in January of 2012.
Right.
But I don't consider that to be when I started, because I did it so infrequently that I only started basically at the start of 2013. I think it was maybe at the end of that year where I started thinking, okay, I'm going to do this on a weekly basis. And it was at the Cavendish Arms in Stockwell, South London. Yeah. And you do 5 minutes, and you don't know what order you're going to be called out, and they call your name out.
So it's handy, that, isn't it? It just keeps you nice and relaxed.
It seemed perfectly reasonable at the time. In retrospect, it seems needlessly cruel.
Yeah. So you can't leave, isn't it? So okay, I've done my spot.
Oh, that's the reason. Of course, that's the reason. Yeah. I can't believe I never realised. I didn't know what the reason was. Yeah, to convince people to stay. Yeah.
Do you write for any other things?
Not comedy wise, but I've written a point and click adventure game called Nelly Cootlot the Foul Fleet. Because it's very important with a game to have a name that nobody can spell remember or understand or pronounce. So if you see it written down, you can't pronounce it. So it really is a failure on every.
What's the acronym for that? Was it Nelly?
No,
oh, it just rolls off the tongue so well. So
Mass Effect, 2 words.
Oh, amazing!
Everyone knows what they mean. Mass Effect,
brilliant. Oh, but there's a part, that first one is the most boring part. You know, where you're mining for metals.
I'm about to disagree with you in the strongest possible terms.
I'm sorry.
I just finally played Mass Effect 3, and my main disappointment with it, in my long list of disappointments, was no mining. The mining bit, they got rid of it. I love the mining.
It's sort of like, it was one of those things of like, I'm going to scan every ounce of each of these planets, and I ended up with like, you know how kind of you get to that final boss thing, you're too powerful, and it's just not a challenge anymore. You're like, oh, what gun do you want? Well, I'll have obviously the best gun, and I'll have the best everything, and I'll upgrade my ship shields and the ship's weapons, and this isn't a challenge anymore. Click, and the game is finished. That's how it felt for me, because I mined every single planet for everything.
I do think they improved some of the gameplay elements in the second game. I think I do remember it being more playable.
Yeah.
In the second game, I can't. Though they've blurred into one now.
Definitely second game.
But yeah, I'm writing for a point-and-click adventure game, which is very much on the same level of top-tier AAA big hitters. Like it's not at all.
Great.
At the moment, so I wrote one and did the animation for it, and at the moment I'm doing some writing work on someone else's game. A German developer is making a game, and I'm just working on the English language version of the script. So we're chatting through ideas about the story, but basically it's his story, and it's me trying to say, well, here's how not to make all the mistakes I usually make, because I'm aware of those, and I can just sort of hopefully help you steer clear of some of the rocks, but also just make sure that the English language script sounds like natural English and avoids the quirks of Germans speaking English, even though they all speak English really well. Yeah. And try and punch up the jokes a bit, although I'm sure the German script is very funny.
Of course it is, of course. No.
The truth is, I've never met a German with a bad sense of humour, but there is something very serious about the German manner, and I think that's what we associate with humourlessness. Yeah,
just got to prise them out of their bunker and then get them out. Look, you've got to be vulnerable with comedy. That's what it is.
Absolutely. Well, I'm trying to think of. I've done stand-up comedy in Germany.
Oh yeah,
once
in Berlin.
So I went to Hamburg. I really liked it because it's incredibly hipsterish. So it's like Shoreditch, a German version of Shoreditch. So just more organised. I've never seen so many anti-fascist slogans anywhere as there. Although, admittedly, for good reason. So it's full of graffiti and anti-capitalist and anti-fascist logos and things all over the place, and just chock full of vegan food, which is great.
Do you think there was just a smoke screen? Because it's like, I've never seen so many anti-fascist things. Like, okay, there's something quite, something you're just going overboard with it. Like, just tone it down a bit.
Well, I was a bit nervous because I have a bit of material about Hitler being vegetarian, or not being vegetarian, as the case may be. Well, I have a bit where I claim that he wasn't vegetarian, but since I wrote it, some more evidence has emerged to suggest that actually he was vegetarian after all. And I've ignored that and continued to do the bit of material. So I think maybe I need to update that. Yeah, so I have a picture of Hitler at one point, and so I thought, isn't that going to work in Germany to an audience which is only going to be 1/3 expats and is going to be mostly, I should say immigrant Brits, I should say, but it's going to be mostly Germans. But they went with it, which was nice. But then later on I found out that it might be illegal to show pictures of it. I'm not sure because you can't show swastikas in Germany.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like when they make video games about the Nazis, they take all the swastikas out when they release them in Germany, which is weird but interesting. And so I think he wasn't wearing a uniform in the picture, so I might have broken a law. I might have broken one of the anti-Nazi laws of Germany.
So he wasn't wearing the uniform.
So in the picture he wasn't wearing a uniform. Wow. But I don't know whether it was. But it was a Nazi propagandist image that I was showing. Yeah. So I don't know if that
was Hitler with a giant penis.
It's a picture of him feeding a baby deer.
Oh, so right.
The Führer als Tierfreund, I think it is. The Führer, friend to all the animals. Complete bastard in other respects is the subtext. So it's one of the things making him out to be sort of just a great guy. So apologies to Germany. Well, and everyone else really.
Yeah. So you had you did a couple of gigs in Germany. Or Hamburg?
Just one. I just went over there, I think, last year. And did one gig in Hamburg, which was nice.
And they enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, it was really nice. Because as I say, I think Germans have a great sense of humour. I think it's simply that. I think it's that our sense of humour is not funnier than the German sense of humour. It's just we make more jokes. They aren't better,
right?
But we make more of them. So if you tell a German that it's raining, they'll go, "That's unfortunate. I was planning to go out later on today, and now I will become moist." Whereas if you say to an English person it's raining, they'll go, "Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Well, that's just what I wanted." Yeah. So we'll use irony for no reason. It's not funnier, but we will make a joke, not a funny joke. And so we would make a joke in a business meeting, whereas a German probably wouldn't because he's busy.
Yeah, it's an inefficient use of your time.
But it is, and we use those jokes, and we use not saying what we mean defensively in those kind of situations when you're in a meeting. When you don't want to answer the question, you make a little joke, and then by the time people notice you didn't answer it, the meeting's over.
Yeah,
and that is I can see why they would find that frustrating, because it's not that we're funnier, it's just that we're not emotionally honest with ourselves. We use humour to hide that, I think. I remember reading an article that Stuart Lee wrote, I think years and years and years ago, about the German sense of humour. And his argument was that they have a very dry sense of humour that we don't get. Because the German grammar means that it's hard to put the funniest word at the end of the sentence. And that's certainly, in translating the game I wrote into other languages, that's one of the things that's very difficult to preserve. There's cultural references, there's wordplay, but also just preserving the comic rhythm of a sentence which is just humorous because of the way it sounds. Trying to explain what's funny about a sentence that hasn't actually got a joke in it but just sounds funny is very difficult. We can hide the funny word by putting it last, but it's usually a noun. In German, the verb will always come after it, and so the thing. So I slapped him with a parrot. I think that's come to mind. Maybe that's the example he gave.
Yeah.
Is much funnier than I with a parrot slapped him.
Yeah, of course.
Because you already know it's a parrot by the time you find out, and slapping isn't funny, it's the parrot that's funny.
Yeah.
Not that funny. Germans, because they can't rely on the verbal trick of hiding the word, it's more about subtext, was the argument Stuart Lee was making. And so their humour may be more sophisticated than ours, and we might be missing the joke a lot of the time. Having played some funny German, in inverted commas, funny German games, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced by that. But then I've written some rather unsophisticated jokes in my game as well. So who am I to judge?
Yeah. What's the name of the game? Is it out yet?
The game that I'm working on now is called Unforeseen Incidents, and it's not expressly a comic game, although there are some jokes in this.
Yeah,
it's a conspiracy mystery detective game. So you're exploring a parallel reality, sort of. So it's mostly the same as our world, but it's a little bit different in some ways. And you're trying to investigate the outbreak of a mysterious disease. So it's a bit more grown up and dark than my game, which is about fun pirate adventures. I think it's got all of the classic ingredients of an enjoyable point and click. If you're a fan of point and clicks, and the mystery and the story and the characters, and there's little bits of humour, but it's a bit more grown up.
It feels like a bit of more of a zombie Contagion type thing. Is it Ground Zero?
It's not quite that. It's not post-apocalyptic. I think in earlier drafts it was. So I think maybe when the first press release went out, it sort of was post-apocalyptic. But I think it's more of a race against time to prevent an outbreak. Because I think I feel like we're saturated with zombie stories at the moment. So there are no zombies. And there isn't but there is the threat of contagion. So there is a sort of looming epidemic. Can you offset it rather than picking your way through and surviving? Because while that's all well and good in a survival horror, I think I feel like I've particularly if you've played the Telltale series, the Walking Dead series, I feel like that's an extremely good version of that, and we don't really need. I don't really need another version of really good narrative survival story.
And it'd be nice to have a bit of hope as well, wouldn't it, really? That rather than kind of like, it just continues.
Yeah, I think it certainly is less mercilessly grim than that. So it's got shades of light and dark. And
every single, I'll make a different choice at the end, and it just goes to a different ending, which is just as bleak.
Yeah, everyone still dies, but in a slightly different way.
It's prolong the agony. Well, life is like that too, in a way. But but that is like you actually see the end. It's like it's still cold, whatever choice you make. A
lot of people criticise the Telltale games for having fake choices, and people get really upset about that. Fake choice, fake news, and I don't get it because I think that's life. I think we have most of our sense of choices are illusory, and most. I'm broadly speaking a Marxist, and so I think we're shaped by outside forces more than we are by our innate passions and talents. You can be Albert Einstein, but if you grow up without learning to read, you're not going to be Albert Einstein. He did very well for a patent clerk, but you've got to be able to read. You've got to not starve to death in infancy if you're going to be Einstein. I think external forces have a bigger effect on our destinies than our choices. And so what the Telltale games do when they're doing it the best, in those sort of decision-based narratives, you get to change the moral import of what happens. So you've got to sort of make the moral decision of, did I do the right thing or the wrong thing? It won't have an effect on the outcome, probably. But that's what life is like. Yeah. You can make some minor moral decisions which are either better or worse, but not good or bad, and you get an outcome which has been influenced by them, but really only in a small way.
You'll have like one hand rather than two hands, or you'll have
exactly.
You'll have a haircut or not a haircut, or a beard or no beard. That's what it's like.
To some extent, that is what we have. That is the area of reality that we have control over.
That's why hipsters are so big now. It's like, look, I don't know where my life is going, but look, I have a beard. This is happening.
I don't blame that generation. I don't know whether I should feel sorry for them or envy people who are in their 20s now, because maybe the economy will have recovered by the time they're my age and they'll all be making loads of money. But I think I went to film school in 2008, just after the global economic crash. It's strange, isn't it? Because it was the most devastating recession or financial crisis since the war. But we didn't have a war. What caused it was we thought that houses wouldn't get cheaper. We thought they would always get more expensive, but then they got cheaper. And then, how is that as bad as a war? Exactly. How can that cause as much devastation as a war? Something wrong with capitalism. But
you're right, Alasdair.
I went to film school then, thinking, I'll sleep this one out in film school. But by the time I graduated, it was even worse. And so I started doing comedy because I'm an idiot.
Where did you go to film school?
I went to the London Film School.
Oh yeah, wow, great.
Which is one of if not the oldest in Europe. But they don't spend much money on marketing, so nobody's ever heard of it. But it's a very good traditional film school. I really liked it. They didn't like me that much, but I learned a lot.
Is it BA film or BA?
MA. Sorry, MA in filmmaking. Yes, thank you very much. I
Yes.
didn't get an MA in filmmaking to be referred to as a bachelor.
Yeah,
it's not until it's a doctorate you can't do that, can you?
I did a BA in video in digital media as well, but mine was not in the London Film School. Mine was in Wolverhampton University.
Well, I did. Before I went to the LFS, I also did a similar BA, and then I followed up.
Where was your BA?
At York St John in York, which is not York Uni. It's the other one that used to be a teacher training college.
Right.
But at the time, York Uni didn't do a film course. And while I was there, they got a really expensive film course with loads of great equipment. But I had a lovely time there at York St John. This is why when people in comedy sneer about comedy courses, they go, "Oh, you shouldn't do a comedy course. You shouldn't do a comedy course. You should just learn how to do it by just going into a pub when people don't even want you there and just doing it." The same argument is made in film about film school, but because I spent thousands of pounds worth of the EU's money on me going to film school, because it was possible to do that back then, I couldn't possibly criticise anyone for doing a comedy course, because why not learn to do it in a safe environment? People say, comedy course audiences, bringer gigs, they're not real audiences. You think, well, what are real audiences? Because real audiences are sometimes terrible. There are plenty of real gigs with real audiences which have been awful. What's wrong with starting out with an audience who are listening and want things to work out rather than being combative? Yeah, exactly. Although I didn't do a comedy course, I couldn't blame anyone for wanting to do one, because why wouldn't you? What's wrong with trying to learn something?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like, no, you need to go on the circuit and go to these places where they don't want you, and also you need to do gigs when you're not ready for it, and totally ruin your reputation for at least a couple of years, and then you go back around the circuit for another couple, and then that's it. It doesn't make sense. No. Like, just burn all the bridges. Burn as many bridges as you can, and then try and build that bridge.
It feeds into there are a variety of sort of aphorisms about comedy, which I'm not experienced enough to say are wrong, but I'm sceptical of the machismo or they strike me as being kind of macho. And it isn't just male comics that say these things or believe these things, but I do think it reflects a male-dominated scene. These things like... people saying things like, you can't call yourself a comedian until it's your main job and it's your only job and you earn all your money from it. Well, by that measure, Van Gogh wasn't a painter. And there are some people who are going to be doing avant-garde comedy that is going to take a long time to turn a profit, if ever. And that doesn't mean that it isn't good. And that doesn't mean they have to be embarrassed about it or say they're not doing it. And so these sort of rules like that, like you should never do a bringer, you should only play to a real audience, or you should never do a comedy course.
And the one of like, you can't call yourself a comic until you've died 100 times. I'm like... okay.
Obviously, you don't want to be the person who changes their Facebook page to Joe Blogg's Comedian after 3 gigs. Obviously, you don't want to do that. There are people on the open mic circuit who give bad advice to new acts. And as I was saying earlier, when you're new, you mistake anyone who's not afraid of dying for being good. And some of these people aren't afraid of dying. And some of them give bad advice. I am a new act as far as I'm concerned, but if I was talking to someone who just started this week, I would try not to give them any advice, because I think once if you've been doing something for a couple of years, you want to start dispensing wisdom when really you don't know anything.
What's the worst bit of advice you've ever been given? Worst bit?
I can't think of any good examples of specific bad advice, but I think there are bits of general bad advice or questionable advice that you sort of pick up or you imbibe absorb, I don't know what I mean. One of the things I've noticed that in watching my contemporaries, people who started when I started, many of whom are doing really well, and I wish them all the best. Watching them do really nice circuit gigs that I'm not doing, for instance, or watching them work, and I noticed that they're generating a sort of waves of laughter. So they want the audience to never not be laughing, and I think that's one of the things that try and make the audience laugh is obviously one of the rules, but trying to get rid of silence. And I see people do that really well. And I think I have stopped... maybe I never did that, but I think there have always been bits in my set where I want people to be quiet. And I only just started to realise that that's weird or wrong. I don't know if I don't know if it is wrong. There are bits where I want people ideally quiet where they're about to laugh, and like one person goes, that kind of quiet. Yeah. Not the quiet of, oh my goodness, this is awful. But I do want there to be pauses and quiet bits where people listen to the setup, because I'm not trying to create, except in some bits. Obviously, I do want rolling laughter, but I'm not trying to create this sense of momentum that the whole thing is building. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm doing it wrong.
I think that it depends on what's good for you, isn't it? You've got what works best for you. It's like whatever you feel comfortable with, because it's all about you being comfortable, isn't it? It's like as if you were trying too hard. I know what you're saying though. It's a different skill, because I think that's what we talk about, the crowds of like a Saturday night crowd. They're like, club dog, whatever. Yeah, it is, and they go in and they're tearing the laughter out of them, and like. I really
it is, but it's like sort of keeping it up, isn't it? You just kind of bang another knock, and then bang another knock, and just trying to keep it up in the air. What I would be trying to do in that situation doesn't have that. I'm not trying to have that effect, which is kind of difficult, and maybe I need to learn how to do that, or maybe I need to learn how to do not that better or something. Well,
I've seen your set, and like it's all you're connecting with them of who you are as well, isn't it? It's like this is who I am, this is how I think. So it's more you're more connecting with the audience rather than just going, look, this is a funny thing I thought. I know all those things are funny things you think with being a comic and knowing your voice, but those silences, you're trying to connect with them as well as make them laugh, make them your friends rather than just go, look, whoever, don't care who you are going to laugh at this because this is a funny thing and I'm the comic. There's some people have that attitude like, I'm the comic. You're the audience, I'm going to make you laugh, which is fine, but you can also go up with a different attitude, go, look, this is me, these are the things I think, you might find them funny, it's okay, because this is my life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well that's the thing, I would like to get to the point where, some bits where I definitely want people to be listening and quiet, and when it works, it's very nice to take a rowdy, not paying that much attention audience, and then after 20 minutes they're listening and I can do those bits, and that's nice. It doesn't always work, and that's frustrating. And I think, well, this is where I need to learn the skills to do with that. But maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it would never work in some rooms. Maybe that will never work for some others. Maybe some people will never like it. Get used to. Starting to accept the fact that some people don't like my comedy. I mean, I've never thought that I was particularly funny, so I sort of sympathise with that. But I do like my comedy because it's exactly my sense of humour. But if it's not to your taste, that's fine. I just hope that those people don't get together in groups of large numbers and come to my gigs.
The averages, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. As long as they're in a minority, I'm fine with it. Yeah, so it's learning how do I get to the point where I can make an audience who didn't think they wanted to hear this bit of whimsical nonsense enjoy this bit of whimsical nonsense.
What was the biggest low of last year, and what was the biggest high?
Oh, I don't think I had I don't think I had a high last year.
Oh.
Well, last year was a hard year. We had Trump and the Brexit vote. I finished my game, which I suppose was a highlight because it meant that I was just finished because I've been working on it for years. I have not become a millionaire as a consequence of that, though, which is not exactly a low because I didn't expect to be. It got good reviews, so that was nice. So I suppose that was, in terms of the feeling of relief at having finished something and being able to move on to something else. That was probably the biggest time. That was about this time last year. And the biggest low was probably everything else about the year. I didn't make much money doing anything. I'm getting more gigs this year than I was last year, thankfully. But because I'd been working on the game in 2015, I had not been writing emails and doing admin and that sort of thing. So in 2016, I was desperately trying to get gigs and not getting any, and that is paying off now. And hopefully, I will continue doing that. But I was in a serious doldrum for quite a lot of it. I suppose doing the Pleasance Reserve was very nice, but as I said, in some ways quite challenging. So while I was in Edinburgh, I think it was the first time I had a sort of a, I don't want to use the word depressed because it has a specific mental health meaning, but it was the first time I had a gloomy time at Edinburgh, even though I had a lovely time when I was around people, because I was doing a show and I was living with really nice people. But it was anticipating doing a solo show made me very gloomy because I'm 33 in a month. In less than a month, in a couple of weeks, I'm 33. So I've failed at loads of things now. I went to film school, I failed at that. So I know how it works.
But in fairness, that kind of degree sets you up for life, doesn't it? Film school. I mean, everyone's like, oh, well, you waste your time. Look, you don't know. In a couple of years, this will pay off. I
have learned so much about failure and disappointment. And trying to break into an overpopulated, underfunded area.
Yeah.
But it is...
Oh, God. I'm just relating so much to that.
But it is hard not to think, at this stage of my life, I feel bad for the people who are going up to do their first hour who are 19 this year, because one of them will probably be hugely successful and have a great... Yeah, but the rest of them are going to have a miserable time of it, and it's going to be the first time that anything bad has ever happened to them. Yeah. I feel bad for them, because when bad things happen to me, I will go, old friend.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Yeah. Disappointment and failure.
That's great.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Things are going okay now. I'm working on the show. People are laughing at jokes. I won a competition, and people were saying, "Oh, so everything seems like it's going well." And I say, "Those are the first signs of failure." That's how failure first presents himself.
Yeah.
It looks like everything's going to be fine, and you start to relax or look forward to it or enjoy some element of life. But no. This is what I've learned from my Scottish... Well, I don't know. That's something I've learned from my Scottish mum, to never look forward to anything in case it turns out badly. Yeah. But I realise, actually, you need to do that. Unfortunately, you have to let yourself invest in something going well in order, like a show. You have to think, oh, well, it could go well, otherwise you wouldn't write it, or you wouldn't do it. So it's kind of dangerous. Yeah,
that's it. Just don't let yourself get carried away in the moment.
Yeah,
it's going well, is it? Yeah, just cool your jets.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, you just have to look at the talented people who toil away in obscurity, and you have to look at people who make it big. After 5 years of doing great shows that were ignored, and then suddenly, for some one reason or another, they find something that makes it work. Yeah. And they find a way through the random injustices of the creative industries. Yeah, so looking forward to it. It's going to be great.
Let's end this podcast with nothing but terror for the future. That's great.
Yes, it has been sort of a howling vortex of terror for the last few minutes.
Where can we come see you in the next few months, Alasdair?
Yes, so you can find out where my previews are by going to abeckett-king.com.
Right.
Or Mr. ABK on Twitter. But it's Mister ABK, because all the other good ABKs got in there first.
Damn it. So your show for the Edinburgh Fringe 2017 is...
The Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries is the name of the show.
Brilliant.
Featuring Alasdair Beckett-King. Additional material by Alasdair Beckett-King.
Starring. Written by...
We
do the credits at the top.
Yeah, that's good. The first 15 minutes of the show is just my name over it. That's how the bell's opening. I can't do that. Never mind. He says his name, obviously. He doesn't say mine.
Yeah, exactly. So that's your own material. It's not... it's different. Yeah, that's it. It's totally different. But yeah. Well, Alasdair, thank you for coming on the Comedy Defect, man. It's been great having you.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. And that was for episode 41, the Leicester Mercury Comedian of the Year, Alasdair Beckett-King. I hope you enjoyed that one. Look, if you like that episode so much, tell your friends about it. Great guy. He's debuting his first hour at the Edinburgh Fringe 2017 called the Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries. Go find him on Facebook. Go follow him on Twitter. And go to his website to see the previews for that show, the Alasdair Beckett-King Mysteries. And you can go see a work in progress because he needs you there. You could be there at the beginning. And you'll see it at the end. Go to Edinburgh, go see it there as well. Why not? He's a great guy. If you liked it, guys, join the Comedy Defect Facebook group. Comment and you'll get updates of what's going on and what's happening next. We have a mailing list as well. You can join that. Now, if you want to follow the Comedy Defect, we're on Twitter at The Comedy Defect. If you want to follow me, it's at WinterPhoneAnder. And if you want to come see my previews for my Fringe show, which I'm going to be taking to the Edinburgh Fringe for 2017, and that show is called Tolerance, details for that are on my website as well, which is winterphoneander.com. I'm also hacking through the Guinness Encyclopedia. I am nearly 1/7 of the way through that book. That means I'm nearly on 100 pages, guys. All the details for those jokes from the Guinness Encyclopedia are on Twitter under the title The Book Dad Read. And the handle for that is at Guinness Jokes. Go check out those jokes there. Some of them are great, some of them are good. Look, it's a big book, okay? I've got a long way to go with it. So go and see those jokes. And they are on Twitter under the title The Book Dad Read. Twitter handle for that is at Guinness Jokes. Now, I don't want to talk for too much longer because I've got a lot of other things to do. And I'm sure you guys do too. So I hope you enjoyed that episode for episode 41 with Alasdair Beckett-King. And the next week we have a very funny comedian, actor and podcaster, Mr. Mel Knight. And that is for episode 42. So next week, episode 42, Mel Knight, actor, comedian, podcaster. Hope you enjoy that one, guys. We'll see you next week on the Comedy Defect Podcast.